Which takes us to Rupert Murdoch. As reported by Politico, did they had problems with this because Murdoch was so right on the money. In his speech Monday night, Murdoch blasted Secretary of State John Kerry and attacked the left for creating an identity crisis that he says has undermined American strength and fostered terrorism around the world. Rupert Murdoch, in this speech, accuses the American left of undermining American strength and fostering terrorism around the world. Now, that's no great news to you. You and I already agree that, think that, have stated that. But it's always welcome to hear it come from the mouths of others. Murdoch drew a connection between U.S. foreign policy and domestic culture, arguing that in recent years there has been far too much institutionalization of grievance and victimhood. Exactly right. Can't tell you the number of times I have bemoaned the whole idea of the grievance industry, victimology, and how the left uses it. Murdoch said, before delivering my modest message, I feel obliged to alert college students and progressive academics and all other deeply sensitive souls that these words I utter may contain phrases and ideas that challenge your prejudices. In other words, I formally declare this room is an unsafe space. After a few words of praise for former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, who had just introduced him to the think tank crowd, Murdoch quickly pivoted to a sweeping indictment of U.S. foreign policy under Obama. He said, for a U.S. Secretary of State to suggest that Islamic terrorists had a rationale in slaughtering journalists is one of the low points of recent Western diplomacy, and it is indicative of a serious malaise. He was referring to John Kerry, who, by the way, served in Vietnam. Kerry's attempt to draw a distinction between the assault on Charlie Hebdo and the more recent Paris attacks. And Kerry did say, in talking about Charlie Hebdo, well, you can say there was a rationale there, because they had done cartoons for the prophet. So we can understand him going berserk there. But Paris, they just did it at random, and there was no rationale. And Murdoch, like everybody, what do you mean rationale for terrorism? Rationale for mass murder? What do you mean there's a rationale for it? And Murdoch says this is a low point in American foreign policy. For America to have a sense of direction, two conditions are essential. A U.S. leader must understand, be proud of, and assert the American personality. An identity crisis is not a starting point for any journey. And secondly, there must be clear goals informed by values and by a realization of the extraordinary potential of its people. A massive indictment of the regime. And I must take a break. I'm up against it on time. Sit tight, coming back. Don't go away.